As we come up to the debate this evening, and the question about where the Labour Party is going to stand and who is going to rebel and who is then going to be stripped of their front bench post and so on, I think some of the comments here are very interesting. California Dreaming 8423 says, "Does anyone, in capital letters, believe that speeches and votes in Parliament will influence Hamas, Israel, or any of the movers and shakers in the anarchy that is the Middle East? It's absurd." I am inclined to agree. I think a lot of the calls for a ceasefire, not just by people marching, I mean, in a way they can do whatever they want to do as long as they don't cause hurt, because no one is going to pay any attention. That is the sorry reality, that the kettling of marchers, the controls over marchers, means that having a march, like having a petition goes to Westminster, goes to Parliament, and then that results in a desultory debate in Westminster Hall that nobody pays any attention to. Well, if you want that sort of virtue signalling, great. But I think what we want to do is have an effect and effect some sort of change for the better. So we need to call on Israel as friends who can engage and encourage better practice. That doesn't mean that we should refrain from telling Netanyahu that he's behaving appallingly. But it's not about what makes us feel good, whether as people, as ordinary people on the street, or as governments, as ministers, as prime ministers, as leaders of the opposition. It's not about what makes us feel good, but about what we can do that makes a real difference and what helps the people of Palestine who are suffering, what helps those people who've been dispossessed, who've lost their homes in Israel, around Gaza, in Lebanon, and what helps the families of those who have been killed, either on the Israeli side or on the Palestinian side. And we need to do things now. We need to set up things now so that this sort of crisis doesn't happen in the future. I think, for what it's worth, that Mr. Netanyahu's siege and ground attack has probably set up problems for the next 2 or 3 decades. What can we do to make sure that that is not a continuing flashpoint in the Middle East? And what can we do to stop other countries like Iran and Yemen and Lebanon getting involved in the activities in Israel and Gaza? What can we do to stop Russia taking advantage of the issues in Israel and Gaza? This is a flashpoint, and with a flashpoint you need to calm things down, and that is not about getting emotional on the street and having placards talking about from the river to the sea. Please remember, from the river to the sea is an offensive expression, which in its original Arabic form, as propagated first by the adherents of Yasser Arafat and then by Hamas, is about the eradication of Israel. But it's a slogan that was adopted by the early members of the Likud party, the party of which Netanyahu is now head. It was adopted and adapted for Israel, from the river to the sea. So to simply walk around with that banner, it's an ambiguous banner at best. It's an ambiguous banner at best. And I don't think the people who are carrying that banner mean it in the Likud way, and I certainly don't think they mean it in the Hamas way. But it is words nevertheless, and foolish words that people are parading without looking at the history of these words. In the same way, people are frustrated with Netanyahu's behavior, and this in turn has provoked people, again, mostly who are mindless, to anti-Semitic attacks on Jewish people. There's no reason for that. There's no reason to attack Jewish people. Not all Jewish people are adherents of Israel. Not all Jewish people are Israelis. Not all Jewish people support the state of Israel, let alone the government of Netanyahu. And remember, the government of Netanyahu has been itself besieged by the huge marches across Israel objecting to the judicial reforms which Netanyahu has pushed through. And Netanyahu is dogged by legal problems about fraud. I think there is every reason to be critical of the actions that the Israeli government is taking, but there is every reason to be on our guard against anti-Semitism, which is heinous and completely unforgivable, ugly, and without purpose, except in a very negative way. It's what we need to do today is to encourage politicians to do something positive and to apply positive pressure on Israel to bring this war to a conclusion, and at the same time to express in actions their commitment to the humanitarian virtues that every stable civil society espouses. Those virtues are about saving life. Those virtues are about caring for the needy, the sick, the injured. Israel must open its gates and welcome Palestinian victims of this war into Israeli hospitals where they can be treated and looked after and taken out of the theatre of conflict that Netanyahu has devised. And none of this is to belittle or in any way overlook the atrocity that Hamas committed on October the 7th, and the very good reason why Israel has a right to defend itself.